Welcome to the Common Ground podcast, where stories connect, perspectives collide, and purpose is found in the middle.
Every week, we sit down with unique and inspiring guests that come from all walks of life. People who challenge the status quo, overcome the odds, and live with intentionality.
Whether you're driving to work, on your morning walk, or just looking for that spark to ignite your week, you're in the right place.
Welcome to the Common Ground podcast with your hosts, John, Fletcher, and Sydney Nicole.
Welcome to the Common Ground podcast. Yes, it is your boy. It is John. It is Billy. He is in the house. How is everybody doing today? I'm super excited.
I'm good. How y'all?
Awesome. As always, I have the lovely Sydney. She looks good in sweats. She looks good in dresses. She looks good playing in the mud, and she looks good in a white tie-dye t-shirt.
Sure.
She'll look good anywhere, even drinking coffee. Welcome, Sydney. How you doing today?
Doing good, Philly. How are you?
It's going good.
All right, what you got for me? Hit me with it.
So, over the past weekend, I was watching Transformers with my daughters, and we're watching Transformers, and I was like, I wonder what Optimus Prime's up to, now that all the Transformer movies over. So I did a quick dig, did AI, and AI like, oh, he's a writer now. I'm like, really? Optimus Prime is writing? Yeah, he's writing his autobiography.
Okay. All right. Very good. You got a second one for us this time?
I do. And why do writers hate the Bible? You think, why would write? Because it has terrible characters. Only Noah has an ark.
Do the drum effect. I can't do that.
So, yes, awesome. If you tell us which dad joke you like below, and let us know. Rate it 1 to 10. Tell me which one you like better.
Submit your dad jokes so that we can read them on the episode.
You missed one in the previous episode. I did a Chuck Norris joke.
I missed a Chuck Norris joke.
You missed a Chuck Norris one. So if you go back, you're gonna have to watch
one episode that I wasn't in.
Yeah. So.
All right. Sounds good.
So we got an interesting I think topic today, and I think it's going to be a really cool thing to dig into.
Let's do it.
Today on the Common Ground podcast, we're sitting down with Derail Johnson, a devoted husband and father, and one of the newest voices shaking up things in the indie fiction. After stepping away from writing for many years, he picked the pen back up around late 2024 and has been on a mission ever since, turning out thrillers, suspense stories, and faith-driven books that wrestle with fear, hope, and redemption. Derail grew up inspired by storytellers like R.L. Stine and filmmakers such as Wes Craven, James Wan, and Jordan Peele. And if you can feel the mix of horror, tension, and moral questionings running through his work, you know why. In recent years, he's branched out into Christian-themed books like Souls Anchored and an upcoming title called Jesus the King of Kings, building what he calls the multiverse of stories for both thriller fans and faith-based readers. So everybody, please welcome with me, Derail Johnson.
Hello, everybody. How y'all doing out there?
How's it going, Derail? And where are you calling in from today?
I'm calling in from Ennis, Texas.
Very nice. Is that where you're from originally?
Yes, ma'am.
Very cool.
Born and raised.
I've got family in Texas, so not that part of Texas, but that's awesome. I love to hear it. Travel there pretty frequently. So, Derail, just for our viewers that don't know you, before we kind of get into the meat and potatoes of all of the things that you do, just give us a 30,000-foot view of who you are and what do you do for work in your free time. And we know you're a dad and you've been married for how long?
It'll be this weekend, 7 years.
This weekend. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Very nice. Very nice.
I work at CVS, the distribution center warehouse. That's my I say day to day that pays the bills jobs for right now. But I'm a I would say quiet, outspoken type of guy. Like to be well quiet most of the time, but I love going out bowling, walks in the park, movies with my wife, and just all
Sounds like a
around it.
dating app right now. No, sorry. Long walks on the beach, romantic dinners.
Yeah. But
That's
I also got a, big imagination on the writing part. It's just things I can just think of in my head. And I say sometimes divine intervention because I believe the Lord sometimes comes in my head and tells me certain things to write about on the, I say Christian side of things. But the other part of it is just like a best of both worlds, kind of the wacky part with the thriller suspense side. So I'm able to weave, I guess, the both of both worlds in that
yeah.
category.
And we're gonna get into that for sure, because that is a super interesting point that we're excited to chat with you about. But when was the first time that you were like, "Oh, I might actually be good at this?" Like, how old were you when you were like, "This is something that I'm good at"?
I believe it was about 4 or 5, maybe, somewhere around the 4th or 5th grade.
4th or 5th
'Cause,
grade. I was gonna say 4 or 5. I was like, "My daughter can barely write her name."
yeah, they would have, certain readers come in and read different books to us, and I always had, put it kinda, like, in the back of my head, like, maybe this is a good avenue to somewhat go down, but, it wasn't first choice because I originally want to be a mortician in life to deal with the dead, but, it takes a certain kinda person to work in that field from what I've been told and doing classes with it.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Why was that a passion of yours? I won't spend too much time on that because I know that that's
Mhm.
not what you ended up doing, but what was it that drew you to that?
The fascination of, I know it's gonna sound kinda weird, but, there's certain body parts, knowing which ones to, take out and put back in, and, just helping families that's going through a rough patch in time. You're there to, cater and take care of them at their worst point in life, and, they just wanna feel, that they're important, each and every family, that someone's there to, answer all their needs and make sure everything's done from day one, keeping them updated on everything.
Did you experience loss from a young age?
Um, mm, I had an uncle, but I think that was, when I was maybe 9 or 10, I
Okay.
think.
And I'm not gonna hog all the questions here because I know that John's got a bunch too, but I'm, like,
Oh, you're okay.
building up to some of these things. So when were you introduced to faith at an early age? Did you grow up in the Christian faith, or where did that come into your life?
My grandmother had us, my brother and my cousin, pretty much all, and my mom and aunts in church. So they instilled in us at an early age that being around faith driven and knowing God and Jesus, that was important in our household. If we wasn't at church, we would look at sermons at home. You know, it was kind of like sometimes we can't look at other things. You can play video games, you can have time and give time to God. That was very important growing up in our household.
Sure, sure.
So I kind of want to jump into some stuff real quick. It's an interesting mix that you chose uh to write about Christian faith and horror.
Hmm.
And I want to know from your perspective, how do those two align? Because they
Which
seem like opposite, complete opposite on the tracks.
which
Christian faith and horror and suspense.
okay. So going back to becoming a writer or getting back in it at the tailspin of my junior year, I had prayed and asked God that if this is the route that I'm supposed to go in to be an author, because He had given me so many signs that this is where I'm supposed to be. I kind of made a promise that I want to just highlight not just the thriller, not just the suspense stories. I want to also create faith and divine stories that will help inspire people, that's may not be close to God, but also try to bring them closer to that because that's an important part of our lives is to, at the end, I feel that we need to turn back to God. And
So let me ask you this. What do you feel is like your overall objective when writing a story?
it's to create like as most magic as I can, get people interested in talking to my work. I want to be able to just create a whole diverse of stories, whether that be, horror, faith, suspense. I want to do it all, not just be in one specific genre.
What originally drew you to horror? Because those were your first books, correct?
Yes,
So what inspired that?
that's from different movies, but specifically Wes Craven, his work with his Scream films. I was watching it one day and I was like, that I can create something of my own, but also tweak it to make more people like more scarier. Because I have a talent to drive stories to make them more jump scare.
What were the things in that one, just as for an example, that you changed?
Hmm. Uh, just being more, I guess, more gory to make the
Well,
humor
like
feel more.
yeah, like when you saw Scream, like what was one of the details? Because I'm a writer too, I'm a published author as
Hmm.
well. So like what's one of the details that when you watched the movie, you were like, "Ooh, like if we changed this, that could like make readers like that enjoy this type of book." You know what I'm saying?
The suspense of his phone calls, the voice annihilation, the way he can describe his voice or change his voice and make it, as random as possible because you don't know who's calling, who he's calling.
So not a changed detail, but an enhanced detail through writing?
Yes.
Interesting. Okay. Sorry, John, you were gonna say something. I didn't mean to jump in when you were.
No, no, I'm still just like there's certain things like one of the reasons why I love doing this podcast is there's just things that I don't comprehend, right?
Mhm,
Um, to and to give you an example outside of this is, and then I'm gonna bring it back to this conversation, is like I grew up in the hood and I saw what drugs did to people.
mhm.
And I made a choice at a very young age that I wanted no part of that. And so for me, I have a hard time fathoming why people turn to drugs when they see exactly where it's going to lead you. Like I don't, my brain doesn't work that way where I can go, I don't see how they take that jump. And I know some of the things that lead into it. I know some of the things that cause it, but it still doesn't make sense to me. And I feel the same thing about this conversation with horror and Christianity. Because I don't understand how, like, both of those can coexist, you know? That you can write horror and then write Christian Christian faith. Um, and so I'm very intrigued on how that happens because, like, I feel like you are talking to 2 totally different audiences that would not want the other thing that you're doing. And
Well,
go
to
ahead.
that
No.
degree is that I want to be able to construct more than one genre because I don't want to feel like, I'm leaving something out for somebody. I want to be able to connect with, it's like the ethnicity. I want to be able to connect with every like race. So I write different things for everybody
But
instead
isn't
of
that
one specific subject.
isn't that saying, like, even if Jesus has said to not engage in certain things? Now, I'm not saying that's the case with horror, but is that not kind of a dance with the devil? Like, just because you can resist the devil doesn't mean
Hmm.
you should hang out with him kind of thing? Because it's like, if I wanna hang out with the people that I know are, like, have told me I reject Christ and I want nothing to do with Christ, then why am I allowing that into my life? So, again, I'm not saying that that's what it is with the horror,
Hmm.
what I will say is that a lot of believers, especially believers that have like are very aware that the spiritual realm exists here. It's kind of like how
Mhm,
you were really interested in being a mortician, right? Like the
mhm.
spiritual life exists here. So even scary movies, like as a believer, I don't watch scary movies and I don't let my kids watch scary movies because it is a gateway into the world that we live here. Hollywood in general, media and entertainment is something that, and music is another huge one that Satan uses to get a hold of people that are believers or non-believers, right? Like that's how he keeps them trapped. So I guess my question to you is like, have you had other Christians question or criticize like that correlation? Or, and I hear you saying want to be able to reach other people, but is that the way to reach other people?
To understand what you were saying also, yes, I've had the, Christian community ask me the same question. I have an aunt that's in, faith, really deep in faith, and, she was saying that, "Why don't you just steer in the Christian book way? Just write strictly, Christian stories." And I'm like, I don't wanna miss out on certain opportunities by just sticking to one genre
That part,
because
that part I understand.
I wanna leave it as an open avenue of stories.
There's a couple things I wanna say to that, and, like, kinda like Sydney, I'm in the same boat as you, right? I have watched a couple scary movies, but if I'll be honest with you, if it's like Omen or if it has something to do with, like, satanic stuff, I'm not if I feel it's any kind of satanic or I don't care, I'm not watching it, even if it's with a group of friends. If it's Jason, if it's Freddy, okay, like, to me, it's, like, so make believe. I can sit through it. I don't find the true pleasure in watching it. It doesn't excite me
Mhm.
because I do feel like when you're watching Omen and stuff like that, you are opening gateways. You are you are letting access to something that you shouldn't. And I guess this is where I guess I have listening to your story, and I've listened to your podcast that you've also been on, and you constantly talk about how God's directing you to write certain stuff. And I guess that again, this is where my brain doesn't see. I don't see how God can be telling you to write anything in that horror realm.
No.
Because what was that? What was your
I said,
response?
"Oh, no."
He doesn't. So doesn't that say something to you about where he wants you? Or
I'm sure to be in strictly in faith stories, but I'm looking at it from a standpoint that I might not have a stronger pull if I'm sticking directly just in the faith-based stories.
Well, hold on. Let's just talk about how many other genres there are outside of that, though, right? Like some of the most incredible books that I read were actually at a classical school that I went. Like, I love Don Quixote. I think that that's like people are like, I had to read that in school, so I hate it. I thought it was awful. Fahrenheit 451 was a mind blow book for like it was so weird and abstract, but like those are not none of those are horror books that you think about what we have kids read growing up and it gets your brain thinking and moving and some of them are really complex stories that require so much intense creativity in order to have this storyline develop, right? But they're not horror. And so their faith couldn't really be put into question because it's not something that could potentially contradict with the Christian faith. So why if you're looking to reach out to other genres cuz you've written a couple that are not horror and they're not faith-based. Give me a couple of those names. I can't think of them off the top of my head. There's a couple though that you've written that are just stories, but they're not horror and they're not
Mhm.
faith-based either.
Uh, probably the first U.S. Mexican president.
Yeah, okay, that's the one that I was thinking of. That's and I didn't wanna speak out of turn because I didn't know if that one had elements to it that I was unaware of. I haven't read I have not read that book, but, just based on the title, I anticipated that that's not gonna be exclusively faith, and I kind of figured it wasn't gonna be a horror book either, right? So what is it first of all, what inspired that book? Let's start there.
That book is just the diversity of wanting to see change. And speaking of like political part, I think that it's fair to have all the ethnicities at one point, if we reach that point, have their chance to be president of the United States. So I'm
Okay,
just
that's a whole different topic. I'm not gonna go down that rabbit hole, but okay, I
yeah.
understand. And then, so then what I know that you said what inspired the horror like, you'd be watching a scary movie and you kinda, like, would do a spin-off of that from these scary movies. So, why wouldn't you pour more time and energy into books like the first, US Mexican president, for example?
As far as this just regular stories.
Yeah, creative story the ones that I mentioned, Don Quixote, like, I can't think of a whole lot of them right now. I've got a whole bookshelf of them out there, and they're just
Mhm.
all escaping me, but
I mean, I have a whole list of different book titles that I wanna do, but I feel that my strong suit is the drama and horror suspense side of it. So that's mostly what I try to turn to or stick to. Every once in a while, I'll throw in a faith story or just regular base story. But I try to mix it up to give something for everybody.
I guess
I would say my writing style is mixed multiverse. You get a mix of everything.
this is the youth pastor going to come out of me at this moment.
Yes,
Um,
sir.
if God is truly speaking to you, you know,
Mhm,
on direction, I would definitely heed what he's saying because I feel of you, I get that you want to spread, you want to make sure your reach is good, right? You're talking about your
yes,
reach being good, doing other, but God's talking to you. I mean, I guess my thing is have faith that what he's telling you, it's like him going to Abraham and saying, you know, he tells Abraham to leave his family. He's going to go off. He's going to take him to a new land. He's going to
mhm,
make him the father of new generations. And what if Abraham goes, you know what? But I don't want to be stuck to just one land. I want to, what if I dabble a little bit in Egypt? What if I dabble a little bit in Asia? What if I dabble a little bit? Because you said I'm going to be this father of all these great nations. Don't I need
mhm,
to be everywhere? But where God has you is where he's going to create that all those nations. That's he's going to fulfill his promise. Where he has you, he's not going to fulfill. We try to think how how can when God's talking to me, how can I help God achieve his master plan instead of letting God achieve his master plan
mhm,
and just staying in our lane. Like, oh, I gotta worry about my reach. I gotta make sure that I'm doing everything else. If God's talking to you, dude, do what he's talking about and stay there because that's where you're gonna be blessed. Sorry, that was just a that's just a little bit of my youth pastor background coming out and because
No, I
I just
understand what you're saying.
I feel the need to say that. But
Yes, sir, I appreciate it.
I so how many books have you written?
I think the count is at 26.
that's crazy.
And
Crazy.
and and your first book was finished in 2024? Is that correct?
I believe so.
24?
September.
You did 26 books in 2 years? Less than 2 years?
I think so. It was September 2024 or 2025. I think it was 2024.
So I I'm mind blown because I'm not a writer, so maybe Sydney's better at this
But
than
that
I am.
goes into me what I was saying earlier. I want to be able to create enough content and books because I don't want to feel that the competition or I'm left behind. So that's why I'm constantly working hard to get my
Wha
stuff out there because I don't want to be, forgotten. There's so much things going on. So that's why I always have to get off work. Either I'm doing my AI videos or I'm working on books constantly every day. I'm trying to create something different.
Okay, you said AI videos. So how
Mhm.
much of AI is writing these books then? Because 26 books in 2 years, that makes sense with AI. Writing it the way that I wrote mine, that does not make sense to me, being an author.
I wouldn't say the books, they're breaking them down because people will ask, what is this book about? So I take the AI videos and whatever the summary of it is, I insert that into the AI because a lot of people nowadays, I say they don't want to read. And I'm trying to bring what my work is, make reading fun again and make it interesting because they'd rather listen to it in an audio instead of taking the old fashioned way and reading it like I would like to do. So I inserted my AI videos to break down each and every book that I'm doing so you can have a better understanding of what's about.
So is your AI, the videos that you're making, are they reading your books like a kind of like a narrator, but also with a video, almost like a movie, but an AI form of a movie? Or like, how does that work when you say that they're breaking down the books? Is it just like clips of chapters of the books? What is it? What is it?
Yeah, certain chapters of the books, it'll break it down and explain what's going on with it. But I also have a narrator, Joshua. He's recording. He's done Hallelujah Praise, and he's working on part two of the Family of Faith.
Okay. 26 books in 2 years. So, um, back to my question, like, what is a day to day? Because you work a full time job too. So, like,
Mhm.
that doesn't compute in my. I mean, it took me years to write one book, and it's 170 pages. And granted, there's a reason that it took longer. If I had just like actually sat down and like did it for
Mhm.
the way that I would if I was a full time writer, then that would be different. But like, how?
Well, I have a notebook. I don't have to bring it downstairs with me. I write down different titles. I try to come up with different titles a day. Each day, something different that I can write about, and I can spend. It's probably not good for me to do it, but when the time I come home, pick my kids up from school, fix them something to eat. I'm in my books. I'm writing, and that may last till maybe 12 midnight. So I got to get right back up at what 4 o'clock and go to work. It's kind of like a an obsession to me. I've went through, we'll get to that part, the meningitis. Um, there's a lot of people that I'm having to prove my worth to. You know that you couldn't do this. You can't be a writer. You're not going to do this. So I'm pushing myself extra hard to show that yes, I can achieve anything you say I can't achieve.
But
So,
I think that people see that volume and their first question is how much of that is Derail versus the tools and the systems that are available. And
Mhm.
if you're trying to prove yourself or your worth, you might be hurting yourself if you're using AI as heavily as I suspect based on how long it took me to write my book.
well, I was going to ask you, when your writing process, do you write it out on the computer? How does your writing
No,
process go? Do you do drafts? Do
what
you
I do is insert the titles for it to break down. All of these titles I'm coming up with by in my head. I like to write it down on a notebook piece of paper.
He's asking about the actual content of the book, the actual chapters, the actual words on the pages. I don't think you answered the question.
You're
yeah,
asking, is the AI doing it or am I physically writing it down? Is that
yeah,
what
that's
he's
why I
asking?
asked you, what's the process? I'm
I
like,
can write it down. It maybe depends on how long I want. If I want a 20 chapter book, like I say, if I want to stay up all night, that's just me working against my body to do it. But I'm not going to finish a 20 chapter book in one night.
no, no, what I
I
was
hope
asking is,
not.
do you write it on the computer
Crazy.
or
No,
and
I like to do it old fashioned in a notebook.
so
Then I
you're
convert it to the computer.
so you're handwriting it and then writing it from the pages onto the computer?
Yes,
So do you have a notebook? Because you're at home right now. So do you keep the original manuscripts of where you've written these books?
some of them. But I have the original notebook of the titles of different book titles that I've come up with.
Well, the
I can go
titles,
get
that's
that.
fine, but what I'm getting at is that, like, do you see how people, like, start picking away at these questions and they're like, "Here's the thing, AI is a phenomenal tool," and it doesn't take away from it, especially with like, AI is an incredible helper and asset in AI helped me with my book, 100%. It did. I couldn't it was too hard, like, and emotionally for, like, the topic of my book, it was too hard, so I was finding myself speaking derogatorily about people that my book pertained to, and so I'd have to write it out, just messy, type it out like an angry email almost, and then plug it into AI and be like, "Help me remove some of the emotion from this, like, say what I'm saying with less negative emotion in it," right?
Mhm,
And then it shoots me something back, and I'm like, "Okay, that's better," and now I can go in and I can edit it to be me, but like, okay, I understand where it's telling me like, "Hey, that's that part. This is that phrase in that sentence where it's like, if you take that out, you get a lot more credibility when it pertains to mine," right? So what
mhm,
I'm getting at is that if you've written 20 chapter books and you don't have the original manuscripts, one, that's odd to me. I don't know why you wouldn't keep that because there's nobody that does it that way. That makes you very unique as a writer. But two, writing like the titles and then having AI write it is different.
mhm. Well, most of it is from the head. I'll write it down. It's just everything's coming out of here.
Um, all right. I'm trying to think. What about editing and do you edit? Do you do drafts?
Most of the time, yes. Or I'll send them professionally to a professional person. There's a story that's in it ain't came out yet. It's couples staycation that I sent to a professional company.
What
And
publisher
that's
did
huh?
what publisher do you use?
What they call Frontier? I'm not real sure. That's been like I sent it to him over a year ago. But
But you've only used it for a couple of them or one of them? Or okay, gotcha.
On
So
average on average, how long does it take you to write a book?
I say anywhere from a year, it could be 6 months to a year.
how is that possible when on average you're writing 1.8 books per month?
Some of these books I've had since 2007. That's the originally date I've been writing since I was a junior in high school. But I really wasn't pushing it until like 2000, late 2024.
Okay.
That's why I asked you if you started in 2024. Okay. So some of these books come from your childhood. You had them written down already.
Pretty much high school, junior year,
How many of those books would you say are from your childhood?
maybe like two or three.
Which ones? Just out of curiosity. Like which ones were inspired earlier in your adolescence?
Not any of the ones that's currently out. I wrote a horror story as a junior, a 100-page book that I left for my teacher. That's kind of a going away graduation gift. But none of the current ones that's out now.
So you're saying that the ones that you started in 2007 aren't part of this 26. You're
No,
telling
they're
me that
not.
it takes 6 months to a year to write, but you put out 26 books since 2024. Do you see
That's
how
correct.
do you see how that's not comprehending with me? Like I don't know. I'm just trying to make sense of it.
If you're a writer that's always on it, then possibly so. Like I say, the ideas, the titles, the only thing that the AI does is break them down
When you say break them down, what do you mean by that?
through my videos.
What do you mean by that? Because the book has to happen before the videos. Okay, so when you say the only thing the AI does is break it down, what do you mean? Walk me through what the AI does, because that's like saying break it down, like that doesn't break
If a
what?
certain chapter, like I have this book, Dream Train, if I wanted to break down chapter one or through chapter 10, then I will insert those into the AI machine and it'll break down chapters 1 through 10. That's basically what I do with every book. I will have every title or some of my titles and I insert it into the AI and they'll describe each of those chapters to be broken down.
So it writes it, is what you just said. Because so you give it, here's the title, here's what the book is about, and then it gives you the outline and it gives you the chapters.
Correct. Not
Makes more sense.
physically writing it, describing what I wrote, but I reinserted in there to break it down so they can get an understanding versus whether them just going out and buying it and just don't know exactly what it's about. The
What
AI is designed to break each story down for me so you can have a better understanding.
So
which AI
the
engine do you use?
What was that?
Which AI engine do you use?
There was Sora, but Sora is not, it's getting shut down. Now I'm using HeyGen.
Okay. So go ahead, John. Sorry, you had something. I didn't mean to cut you off.
I was gonna say, so you're saying that are you saying that AI breaks down these books before or after the book has been published?
After. Now, I may use the posters. So if you're asking the posters, how I get the titles, the book titles through ChatGPT, I use those through that.
You get the book titles through ChatGPT?
No,
The
the
graphics.
cover.
Covers. Got it. Got it. Yeah. Very nice.
So
It's just like the Walk by Faith. I'm coming out also with a book title called Walk by Faith. And I'm breaking that story down with there's a mother and she has two kids and they're on drugs and she's working two jobs to make ends meet. But through that whole entire story, they're battling to get themselves back to where they used to be in good shape. So basically, through all the whole chapters from 1 through, I think I put it as 20 or 30 chapters, that's basically what that story is going to be about. It's their redemption story, coming back to bringing themselves how they used to be, clean and free from drugs.
so let me ask you this. A big part of your story feels like you're trying to prove people wrong. Why do you feel the need to prove people wrong or to discount your um people who don't believe in you?
Well, that's a part of, I guess, feeling the way growing up. When somebody says you can't do something, that's like a kind of like a challenge. And saying that, oh, well, like the magazines that I was on from my hometown, I wasn't going to get that. Didn't get it at first. It took a couple months, but I achieved that.
Yeah,
What
I I
else?
I
I
saw
wasn't
that
going to
post.
win any awards. The awards are coming. It's not good to count out people that you don't know what they can and can't do. But unlike me, my work, I don't like to be counted out and saying that I can't do something or you're not going to achieve what I'm set out to achieve. And everybody's not on my team, but I just have to say you have to come around on the journey and see.
I thought that was my kid for a second. Second thought I put him down for Nat.
W so, what do you want the world to see? Who is Derail Johnson?
Derail Johnson is an awesome author who wants to open the world up to great imagination where there can be any story for anybody that you want to see.
Which book are you most proud of? Like, if which one would you say is your best, and what about that?
Calling card, my calling card book, that's The Family of Faith.
Oh, the one that's not published yet?
It's published.
Oh, is that one that's out? I thought you were talking about one that is that the one that you were just giving an example of, or is it different?
No, it's different.
Different.
That's
Okay.
going to be Walk by Faith.
Walk by Faith. Got it. Okay, sounds good. So, what about that one feels like most authentically you, or what makes that your favorite?
because it's kind of giving a sense of the churches of what they're hiding from everybody else, because they can be like putting blinders over people's faces and pretending that, everything's good. You know, we're here for you and to serve, when theoretically, you're only probably there to take people's money and
So
to
that opens up.
falsely.
Sorry, I wanted to let you finish. So that
Okay.
opens up some questions for me.
Mhm.
Um, what is the ultimate goal with that book?
As far as to take it to, like, as far as heights that it could take it to,
No,
because that's the book that got caught fire when I first released it. Most
and
people got the most attention.
this is going to be the 5 different volumes or something, right?
Yes,
This
sir.
book. Um, let me ask you this question: what is your relationship with the church?
I say excellent. I'm a member. I go to church, me and my wife, frequently every Sunday. But that title is based on a reality show, because I watched the reality show Greenleaf and I thought that was a good story. But if I was to write it, this is how I would direct it and rewrite it.
What's Greenleaf? What's that reality show about?
The Oprah Winfrey Show. It's about the pastor and his family they're conning God in a way. They're trying to fool God with all the foolery that they're doing, lies, stealing money. Um, what have they got else going on? Adultery, just a whole bunch of unraveling mess and drama.
Is there redemption at the end of this book, or is
Yes,
this just
they all go down in the end for their lies and schemes. Because that's one thing that you can't do is pull a wool and play God, because he's not going to allow it, and he's going to give you so much time to think that you can, but in the end you're going to fall like dominoes.
What I'm confused about is why there are a handful of your books that don't point glory to God. And it feels like it almost does the opposite. It feels like it attacks faith. Like what you just described, the story makes sense, but when John said is there redemption, and I could totally be wrong because I don't live in his head, but I've worked with the guy for a while. I think what he meant was, does it come back to bring glory to God, not bring justice to people who do wrong? Because it's really easy to point out that there are toxic Christians in the world.
Mhm.
Know that. There's people that are not good in the church, and just because you go to church and put on the church face doesn't mean that you're a good person, right? So, like,
Exactly.
totally get that, but why are we bringing attention to that in a book instead of who God is? Because you've got Jesus, King of Kings, and you've got Walk by Faith, and so you have these stories that feel like those storylines are redemption stories. Why even bring the negative into something that God has already said, "I've dealt with that"? That's what I don't understand as a Christian.
It's a drama filled world as the theatrical part in it. I have to throw in some theatrical somewhere with my storytelling.
We didn't get
I
enough of that.
feel that if I just water it down and just make it faith based, people may not be interested.
In what world is faith does it have to be watered down? I mean, we're talking about a God who has parted seas and, like, lit fire to living bushes and, like, done miracles across the whole Bible is the theatrical. Like, he in all of his creation is the theatrical, and we have to bring negative like, that just doesn't compute for me, man. Like, just, like, as a sister in Christ, like, that doesn't
I
make sense.
understand. And I'm glad you brought it up. That's the conversation, even off of this podcast. I get that at home, and my aunt, we battle back and forth with the same topic. That's the direction she wants me to go in, strictly faith based, and cut
But
all
I'm
those
not even
other
saying
stories
that.
out. She wants me to
We're
cut
not
all these other
you know
stories
the book, The
out.
Little Women? Is it called The Little Women or The Four Little Women? What's that book called?
Little
Which
Women?
one?
Yeah, The Little Women. Okay, so it is a yeah. So, like, I'm not saying dude, these book titles are coming back to me. I feel like I'm back in my classical school right now. It's so funny. Mark Twain, like all of these authors and poets, right? Like you're clearly a great writer and you've got this vision for inspiration, but you are getting it from sources that are of the world and not of God. So I'm not saying that all of your writing has to be faith based. You're the author. Like, of course, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm an author too. Like, I like constructive criticism, but I'm just confused as to why, as a believer, we're highlighting the negative. And then you're also in your author work, you've got this other list of books where it's like, I love Jesus and this is who Jesus is, but also the church sucks and here's why, and these people deserve to burn in hell, and I have all of these horror books. And it's like, huh? Like, do we not feel like that loses Kurt's credibility a little bit?
I don't know. I think that's just the quirkiness in me to feel that I have to fulfill the both sides. I don't know.
And that we can agree with, my friend.
So, no. Sydney went exactly where I was going because I feel like as a Christian, dude, like the world's gonna point out where we fail all the time
All the time.
because they want to use it against us. Why are we going to create more stuff for them to use against us? Why not show how, yeah, like Jacob, not Jacob, Joseph. Joseph
Mhm,
says the line in the Bible that I love, and I wish if you're going to end, you know, was it what's the book we're talking about? Faith, Family of Faith.
mhm.
That you would use Joseph as the thing, because here's the story of Joseph is exactly what you're trying to do, right? Joseph
Mhm.
was
A
sold.
remake.
No. Joseph was sold by his brothers into slavery. They were going to kill him, decided not to kill him. You want drama? Here's drama. They wanted to kill
Big
Joseph,
time. Yeah, big time.
decided not to kill Joseph, decided to sell him to slavery. He goes and gets put in prison. The deciphers the dream for the king. The king all of a sudden finds favor in him. The king's wife tries to sleep with him. He runs and leaves his cloak.
We're
Right?
talking about
Like
reality.
you want to talk about drama-filled book, and but the major line that Joseph says is when he brings his brothers before him, what Satan meant for evil, God meant for good.
Mhm.
Like
Amen.
there's the redemption. Like there's in that horrible track of Joseph's story. It was for a major purpose of bringing Israel to a safe place. Like that's why I asked you is there redemption?
Ah,
Like why stop the story at at Joseph fleeing from the king's wife because now he's going to be killed because
Or make it a
dude,
modern day story. Like you could take
yeah,
the same principles and foundations of we're just giving you ideas. I want in this when you write your next book and you take these ideas, me and it's going to say featuring the Common Ground podcast. God. I'm just saying, like you take this. Yeah. I mean, Moses' mother sent him down the river in a basket, and he became like a chief leader. Like just crazy stuff. Like crazy. That's wild.
but without the redemption, you know, you're giving the other side. Yeah, dude, man is evil. We do evil things. Even Christians, we do evil things because we have that sinful nature in us. That is always going to be a part of us. It is a battle to fight that sinful nature.
yes.
Yes, there are bad pastors, but there are also so many good pastors. And when we only write about the bad pastors, that's what the world thinks that Christianity is.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, even,
So,
I mean, yeah, the church, they ask that question too. I get that a lot, you know. You write Christian stories and sometimes you write thriller suspense stories on this side.
so, um, if you could go back to Derail Johnson at any point in your life and have a conversation with him and give him some advice, when would you go back to Derail Johnson and what would you say to him?
I guess the high school, the younger me, and be like, you know, I wish I hadn't rushed certain things that went on and finished early because I finished my high school very early, a year ahead early instead of with my class. So that's always one thing that I regret is finishing early instead of sticking with the class I should have been with. Because possibly things could have been different, you know.
Interesting. There it is.
Very interesting. Well, that's going to lead us into our key takeaway segment.
Key takeaways.
If God's speaking to you, there's definitely a calling on your life. And my recommendation to you is to not take shortcuts. Not, and what I mean by that is genres, whatever
Mhm.
it is. If you're worried about, it's not your reputation on the line if God's given you a gift. It's his reputation online. So you don't have to fight for your reputation.
Yeah. Yeah. Good
You
point.
know,
Mhm.
you let him fight for his reputation. If he's given you direction, um, I would very, very strongly make sure that that's the direction I'm going in. And that and my takeaway is that to really hold fast, and when it talks about, like, questioning God, I think it's more like questioning, are we doing what God is commanding us to do? And that
Mhm.
is, like, always questioning our motives, always questioning, well, why am I writing this book? What is what is is this in line with what God told me to write? Am I stepping out of what he had told me to write? Because
Yeah.
even like there's times where God tells me to go do something, and halfway through it I take over.
Sure.
And it
Yeah.
stopped being what it was him who had directed me. Now it's me directing me.
Yeah.
So there's a whole point of holding stead and holding fast, continuously protecting, creating that hedge over the gifts that God has given you. And I believe he has given you gifts.
Absolutely.
And I think I worry a little bit that you're trying too hard to prove people wrong, that you start taking over sometimes. You wanna do these other genres because you wanna make sure you're that you're proving people wrong, and I get that, but I say hone on to what God has called you to do,
Yes, sir.
and that's my takeaway from it, so
I think that my key takeaway is it's similar but different because, like, what you've accomplished is incredible, and there's no doubt that you've been given gifts, 100%. So it's really exciting to see what you're doing, the awards that you're winning, and where you'll continue to take it, especially with, like, that AI video concept, like, that integration, that's something that's like, people aren't doing that, so I love that, especially just with that whole acknowledgement. I'm like you, I'm old school. I'd rather pick up a book and read it, but we know where the generation is going, and it's why I own an AI application too. So
Mhm.
I'm just trying to keep up with the speed. AI is the way of the future, so we have to lean into it to a degree for sure. That being said, my key takeaway is that speed raises eyebrows, but consistency develops credibility. And if you just continue to be consistent, I think that like that credibility will continue to come from it versus
Mhm.
just like rush everything. I have a tendency to do the same thing in some capacities, and actually for a similar reason. Like I really struggled, not collectively from like people in my youth or whatever. I struggled with my worthiness because of losing my oldest daughter. And so like that is what motivated me to do a lot of the work that I do is just all a testament to my love for her. But I
Mhm.
had to check, like I had to like make sure my heart position was in the right place. And I still have to check myself sometimes when I do stuff like that. But it's like just because somebody struggles early on doesn't mean that they're behind. It just means that their perspective is being built differently. Adversity doesn't disqualify us as people, right? Like no matter what it is that we've been through, adversity doesn't disqualify us to accomplish whatever it is that we set out to do. It just builds the it develops the perspective for our story to matter more in that capacity. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
So, I like it though. I think it's great. I am with John. I would encourage you to continue to think about, like, what's the next story and how can I develop that in a way that still brings glory to God, but that isn't a faith-based book per se.
Yes, ma'am.
But if somebody was feeling like, especially with what you went through, if somebody right now listening is feeling overlooked or doubted or like they don't fit the mold, what would you want them to hear right now? What is your takeaway from this episode for our listeners?
I would say they know who they are and they can do the work. You know, you're going to hear a lot of outside noise, but if you know what you can do, you got to stand on 10 toes and bring it to the table. And there are some that's not going to like it, but you got to be defiant and go with what you know.
Mhm.
And eventually, at some point, somebody's going to want to hear you.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Thank you. And we want to hear what your key takeaway is. Uh Tell us your thoughts on this episode. Let us know your feelings, and we love getting feedback from our viewers and our listeners. So, and
Believe,
also,
I was going to
I'm
say, I
sorry.
believe y'all did an excellent job. I mean, y'all took me to the test. I'm glad about
We're not
that.
done yet. We're not
We
done
got
yet.
Okay.
one more segment. This one's fun though, I promise.
I want to say one thing, then I'll respond to what you just said. So again, our goal for this year is to get to 1,000 subscribers. So right now, if you can take 2 seconds, if you're listening to this, hit that subscribe button, especially on if you're on YouTube. That's where our main goal of getting 1,000 subscribers is on YouTube, because that's where it's our biggest platform. And share it with somebody. Share this episode, like it, comment. That all helps our algorithms. We're really excited about what we're going to do in the future, and it helps us if you are liking, subscribing, and following us. That being said, I just want to we took you to the shed because um you need to answer some questions, and that's how we are. We're not our goals is truth over agreement, right?
Yeah.
So there were some things that didn't add up to us. We brought them to you to give you the opportunity to set the record straight. Now that can give you the credibility that you need because you've
Oh,
gone on
thank
record
you.
and you've
Yeah.
answered questions. That's up for the audience to decide. Was it good enough answers? That's up to them. But it's better for us to give you that opportunity
Mhm.
to respond than you not have that opportunity to respond.
Yeah.
So I hope I hope you don't take it that we are attacking you. We are just bringing some things that I listened to all your podcasts. I listened to all the guest appearances you did.
He doesn't do anything other than listen to podcasts.
I do other stuff, but I love listening to podcasts. And it brought some questions in me. I brought some stuff to Sydney. It brought some questions to her. We just wanted to give you the opportunity to shed light on your feelings and give you the ultimate opportunity to respond.
And that well,
That's
also
all I want. That's all I want ever, right? If somebody's going
thank
to say something about me, give me the opportunity to
but we also
respond. And
absolutely, yeah, you gotta, like, instead of you have to address it, and this is the whole point of the Common Ground podcast, right, is, like, instead of talking either behind people's back or just arguing pointlessly on the internet, is, like, give people the chance to respond, and the way that you handled it was graceful, you had dignity, like, you spoke your truth, and, like, that's all that we ask for is for people to have respectful conversation, so, like, you're a great example of that, and we appreciate the dialogue too.
Thank you.
John, roll us in.
all right, so that's going to bring us to our final segment called the Final Five.
The final five.
Who is your hero and why?
My hero is Batman because
Nice.
Batman is a defiant character. I mean, his
That's
back up against the wall, he's gonna come through. I know everybody likes Superman, but they count out Batman a lot.
that's funny. What is the second question for you is going to be what is one belief that you've had about yourself growing up that you had to break free of in order to grow?
Mm, well, they still say it to this day. Coming out of the shell because I don't. I'm not a talker a lot. Breaking free.
Put it on paper instead, right? You don't gotta say it out loud, you just gotta write about
Mhm.
it.
So, what is either one book, one quote, one verse, one saying that has impacted your life or inspired you to be a writer? Or
I wouldn't even say it's a book because it's a wrestler. I like wrestling a lot.
okay, who's the
And
wrestler?
Jade, I like her. She's a wrestler. It's one quote that she said is that she feels like she had the world on her shoulders. It's a lot of times she get counted out, but for the people that's out there, you need to rise and praise yourself because you're fighting through the booze. And don't let people tell you what you can and can't do. You just show them. I live by that motto a lot.
Very nice. Very good. Question number 4 for you is gonna be, if God were to give you a guaranteed outcome, what is the thing that you would pursue without hesitation?
Take us, I want to say, save people.
Like, bring them to Jesus?
And I know that goes kind of against what we were talking about earlier with the mix of stories.
Oh, that's okay. I mean, that's a powerful testimony for sure.
And the final question is, if you could sit down and have a cup of coffee with anybody living or dead, who would it be and why?
Elvis Presley.
Nice.
Really? That blows my mind. Why?
I think his just the whole mantra, his character, the music he does, he's just pretty cool. A cool flowing guy, you know. What you see is what you're gonna get. And you either like it or you don't.
So you own a pair of blue suede shoes or boots or whatever? Wasn't that one of the songs?
Need to. Well, my hair can't get like that, unfortunately.
All right. Well, Derail, thanks for being with us today. If people want to follow along to continue to see all of the awesome things that you continue to do or read your books, where can they find you? How can they connect with you?
They can connect on Facebook. It's just my name, Derail Johnson, Derail, and Johnson, Johnson. I'm also on YouTube, but I'll go under my business name, Dejo Productions, DejoProductions 89. And also I'm on TikTok and Instagram, but they're used under Dejo Productions as well.
Very nice.
Awesome. And remember, when we take the time to hear someone's story, it gives us the opportunity to find common ground. Thank you again, Derail, for being our guest today. For Sydney and myself, it has been our pleasure being your host, and you have been listening to the Common Ground podcast. God bless and good night.
And that's it for today's episode of the Common Ground podcast. We hope you're leaving with a little more perspective, a little more purpose, and a whole lot more inspiration.
So thank you for joining us today. We appreciate it. Thank you to our special guest.
If today's conversation moved you, encouraged you, or challenged you in any way, don't keep it to yourself. Share it, rate it, leave us a review. Your support helps us reach more people who need to find their own common ground.
So for John Fletcher and Sydney Curtin,
we'll see you right here next week, same time, same place on the Common Ground podcast.
Please take a moment to listen to this disclosure from the Common Ground podcast. The Common Ground podcast is dedicated to exploring commonality among individuals with diverse perspectives. Our guests may present unique worldviews related to health, psychology, and overall well-being. Please note that the Common Ground podcast does not directly promote or endorse any specific ideas, concepts, or actions discussed during our episodes. Listeners are encouraged to approach the information shared with discernment and to consult with their mental and/or physical health providers before making any changes to their health or wellness practices. The views expressed by guests and hosts are their own and do not directly reflect the opinions of the Common Ground podcast. Your well-being is important, and we advocate for informed decision-making. Thanks for listening.